Arguably one of the best speeches given on film was written and performed by none other than a world-famous silent film star. Over the course of about 3 decades, this man brought laughter to audiences all over the world, often in times when it was most needed. Yet laughter was halted in 1940 when he departed from the silent era to create his first talkie film. Charlie Chaplin, dressed in Tumanian uniform, steps up to the microphone and delivers a speech so controversial it costs him his reputation, his likability, as well as his welcome in America. Silent films were doomed with Al Jolson's utterance of one phrase.
You ain't heard nothing yet.
The jazz singer, famously known as the first ever talking picture, came out 2 years after Chaplin's The Gold Rush. The careers of many silent film actors were threatened by the emergence of a new era in filmmaking. Chaplin was one of few silent actors to carry over in the drastically changing landscape of Hollywood. Yet he was reluctant to fully convert over to the new use of sound, often criticizing the idea. Reported by Richard Brody of The New Yorker, Chaplin states, "The silent picture, first of all, is a universal means of expression. Talking pictures necessarily have a limited field." Chaplin released 3 more silent films, The Circus, City Lights, and Modern Times. Modern Times, made almost 10 years after the talkie era began, was Charlie Chaplin's last performance as the Tramp, a mischievous character he had played for over 20 years. While remaining comical throughout, Modern Times expresses 2 deep messages. 1. The film sheds light on the physical and emotional strain on factory workers, as well as those living in poverty. 2. The film points out that there is no place in society left for the tramp, or in this case, Chaplin himself. Modern Times contains themes relating to dominance and control, similarly explored and made popular 12 years later in George Orwell's 1984. While bearing the same mustache, Charlie Chaplin and Adolf Hitler bore resemblance in both life as well as appearance. The 2 men were born 4 days apart in April of 1889. After Hitler rose to power, the 2 were often linked together in the public eye. In 1938, Charlie Chaplin took advantage of this odd connection and began constructing his latest film, The Great Dictator. While looking like a Chaplin film, the jokes were painfully unfunny, overly silly, and sometimes offensive.
We've just discovered the most wonderful, the most marvelous poison gas. It will kill everybody.
If it was supposed to be a satire, no one left the theater laughing. Instead, the film was Chaplin's soapbox, a social commentary masquerading as a comedy. Perhaps the most controversial piece in Chaplin's career was the speech at the film's conclusion. According to Kevin Brownlow of The Guardian, Chaplin considered scrapping the film after Hitler launched the Blitzkrieg, claiming that Hitler was not someone to laugh at. He instead rewrote the ending, with the protagonist in the dictator's uniform delivering a speech.
Brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away...
Chaplin released this film in the US before America got involved in the Second World War. In the eyes of the American public, a British man was telling America who to fight and what to fight for. Yet Chaplin's controversy would not stop with the most polarizing and infamous film in his career, Monsieur Verdoux, which served as the final nail in his already damaged career.
As a mess killer, I'm an amateur by comparison.
As reported by Jay Hoberman of The New York Times, Chaplin's little tramp mutated into the monstrous Monsieur Verdoux, a professional bigamist and serial killer supporting his family by marrying and dispatching a succession of wealthy widows. Not only did this film not sit well for critics and audience members alike, this also led to questions concerning Chaplin's politics and national loyalty. In 1953, when Chaplin was visiting London for the premiere of his preceding film, Limelight, he was banned from returning to the United States by the House of Un-American Activities Committee, an organization created out of fear of communism. Chaplin had now been silenced. Charlie Chaplin, the once beloved, hilarious, talented Hollywood actor, had now become labeled as a communist, a radical, and had become arguably the most hated actor in Hollywood at the time. Chaplin was not just a victim of McCarthyism, but a victim of the times as well. He was a brilliant man who mastered the craft of the silent genre, allowing audiences to laugh at some of the most difficult times in American history. While his work still remains polarizing to audiences, Chaplin ultimately was forgotten with time, until one day, eventually Chaplin's work will find its way to a new generation of fans.